I'm sorry.
All right, welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. I, your host, Nico Ball, get to start the episode today because my co-host, Tim Spriggs, is sitting next to me posting or making or editing his very first TikTok. And it's actually our very first TikTok because we're in a partnership. So in like true partnership fashion, I'm taking like half the credit for it.
Hey, you deserve all the credit because you asked me some very important questions about the podcast. And I said, one big thing that we need to add is TikTok. And here's why. Because all the kids use TikTok. Everyone loves TikTok. And, I'm all about the youth. You know what I'm saying? The youth. And I think it's important that we support the youth and we get them involved in our process and we get them involved with our show because they're the future. I believe the children are the future. And as I say that,
that's not creepy at all, folks. That's not creepy at all.
You think so?
But so I don't know if youth care about the process. I believe in you and what you said, but realistically, like the devil's advocate, I'm like, do the youth care about the process or do they just want the techniques and to see you dancing, Tim?
You think they care if we dance?
Yes, and lip syncing to things.
Oh, well, I can do that shit too. I think we just need to put clips up. I think we do need to show moves.
We have a ton of move actually on Patreon and whatnot. And whatnot. No, but we have a ton of moves and match breakdowns actually, and great content. I'm wondering if the framing is good enough to put it in reels because you have to make it vertical. Obviously, just to give a little
9x16
tips.
Vertical. 9 to 16 aspect ratio.
Oh yeah, I'll send you the presets for Adobe Premiere because you can just create a sequence with the correct presets and then drop in the video that you want so you can kind of like make some clips because you have a ton of techniques and you have a ton of match breakdowns on there.
I break down matches very well. I am one of the greatest minds in all of jiu-jitsu, and you can get access to that if you join our Patreon, like you said. And, I think I'm going to clip it up, show my genius a little bit.
It'll be your jiu-jitsu genius and your ability to edit clips.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And turn off your not Siri. Are you on TikTok? Are you watching videos on TikTok right now? I have my phone. Oh, no. I was pressed to start the episode. I do.
You're not even prepared.
Not that I need my phone. Well, it's the outline.
Well, check this out. So we just posted our first TikTok. You can follow us on TikTok at BJJ Goons. I'm so excited I posted our first TikTok. I gotta start adding people, but I'll do that after the show.
Hello, China. Welcome us.
Wait, I thought we banned. TikTok got banned from China.
TikTok is Chinese. We were trying to ban TikTok from the U.S.
Oh,
other way around.
Well,
but I was posting and shout out to Crystal. I was like complaining about Instagram's updates because it was doing this thing where it was like uploading 1 million of my videos at one time, and I was like, yeah, I'm switching over to TikTok, and Crystal was like, yeah, you should do that because those tags or donation, however you pay on TikTok, she said it's like that. So I was like, okay, bet.
I kind of just like totally blanked on that because my attention span is so much shorter because I'm now addicted to TikTok. I posted one TikTok and now I'm addicted.
TikTok has some interesting videos with the new upgrade in Instagram. Every time I'm like scrolling through and find myself watching a bunch of videos from random people that I don't even know, and then just get off I get off Instagram and I go over to TikTok because that's what TikTok's for. And I found like my feed, and my friend was right. Like if you just, the algorithm, man, like if you just keep liking a certain type of video, then you don't have to follow anybody. It will just give you like the kind of videos that you like. But we're going to master TikTok. I know like people like David Diaz from GF Team DC. He says he actually makes a lot of money from Instagram and TikTok, like doing all of the reels that he's been doing.
It was the thing that took me over the edge with TikTok as far as making it one of my new focuses on the pod. My dad has a TikTok.
What?
And he just scrolls and watches shit on there.
Does he like post stuff?
I don't think so. I don't want to know, Nico. That's some things I just don't want to know. I don't want my dad to follow me on TikTok. But you can follow me at MushmasterWins.
You have your own TikTok too?
Yes, I had to start doing wrestling shit on there because I'm a pro wrestler,
and that's why you got
Instagram
on your
is
Twitter
cool,
too.
but
That's why you got
TikTok
on Twitter.
Yes, pro wrestling goes through Twitter, and TikTok is still the wild, wild west. It's an untapped market, and we can get a foothold. We did research today. We're already one of the top jiu-jitsu podcasts. I think it's time for us to branch out a little bit more, which we are doing. If you saw last week's episode, we went a little bit more real life shit, and I think you guys appreciate that, and that's what's going to really take us over the edge. So, yeah.
For those of you that are already on TikTok, please send Tim dance recommendations. Tim is going to be dancing it up, lip singing to all the songs. He's really doubled down and committed to this.
I might just start doing popular dances in my gi at the gym. Let's see. But yeah, let's take it away, Nico. Enough of this TikTok talk. Ooh, TikTok.
No, we're still going to be talking about social media. No, the question for today comes up from a question that I was asked.
TikTok?
Live.
Oh, okay.
Instagram Live.
All right, so.
A question that I was asked when I was on an Instagram Live with Adisa, who is a former guest. He is also a guest on the town hall that by the time you're listening to this, we should have had. He asked me, when does jiu-jitsu become effective as a self-defense? So, Tim, that's my question to you. When do you think that jiu-jitsu becomes an effective form of self-defense?
Alrighty. From my experience, I was training 3 times a week when I was a white belt, because that's all the classes we had. 3 times 4, 12 classes, 12 times 6.
Just jiu-jitsu, or were you training stand-up at the same time?
That's a good question.
It's a great question. That's what I'm here for.
Let's say your typical martial arts gym, they got a Muay Thai class and a and a jiu-jitsu class every day. You decide to do both 3 times a week. So it's 3 times 4.
Staying hydrated is important, y'all, especially in this heat.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, then Tim is like chugging a gallon of water mid-sentence. He was like, this is the time. I need this water to complete this sentence.
100 classes. 100 of kickboxing and 100 of jiu-jitsu. That's my answer.
That was just randomly succinct. Okay, so 100 classes. And where do you get that data from? That is such a random number.
No, it's not.
So
if I do 3 classes a week for 6 months, I should be able to know how to fight a little bit. I should be able to. If I do 3 times a week, I do a Muay Thai class for an hour and a jiu-jitsu class for an hour for 6 months, I should be able to be at least competent enough to somewhat defend myself and not die. Because most people have never trained a day in their life in fighting. If I am of average age and athletic ability, so let's say I'm around 25 to 30 years old, which is a lot of the people that decide to do this, right? 20s, 30s, so I say in between, so 25 to 35 years old, average athletic ability, and I'm consistent, like I don't miss, 6 months you should be able to be a little bit competent. If your average athleticism. Now, if you never played a sport in your life, you got buggy whip arms, you're going to get your ass beat for a little bit longer. You might not be able to defend yourself. But if you're training that consistently and you're not a chain smoker or an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a bad grade in class?
Yeah, of course. Definitely.
Did you show up consistently? And probably even more than 3 times a week?
That's school, Nico. Nobody gives a fuck about school. And yeah, people pay to go to school, but it's not with the same interest as a hobby like martial arts. Let's be real here. If you're paying to do jiu-jitsu and martial arts, you kind of give a fuck.
Oh my God.
If you're going consistently, you have no choice but to get better.
Do you know how many people I know that are paying for gyms like Vita, which is like $150 a month, and don't go ever.
But I said 100 classes. If you do that, that's the fastest that you can get.
There's a ton of people, though, that also go to class and they do the move and they're just kind of socializing and they never really internalize anything.
Well, then you gotta want to be good, Nico. I'm. When you ask me these questions, I have certain assumptions. Okay. Well, number one, I assume that the person involved wants to be good. If you are doing that, if you're going consistently, how are you not going to get better? You're just going to... Oh, this might go to our other...
All right, so if you say... Okay, so 100 classes. We did our 100 classes. You think that's enough, but all right, what are our indicators of success?
For striking?
For knowing that you have successfully developed like some self-defense skills.
You can do some kind of offensive move. Like you can hit people with shit.
In self-defense, you said in self-defense, the first step in self-defense and an offensive move. And I'm sorry, I'm just really being the devil's advocate today. I love you, Tim.
But like, okay.
Boy said he wanted controversy. Yeah.
Okay, so check this out. If I'm doing Muay Thai, you have to throw strikes. If you're doing Jiu-Jitsu, you have to grab someone. You have to neutralize someone. That is still an offensive action, whether it's a counter or not. Unless you are Bruce Lee or Jet Li, if I'm doing striking and I'm in a combat situation, I'm not going to just be like Anderson Silva and just dip and dodge. And I mean, you could and run away, but chances are you're going to have to throw punches to get someone up off you if they're trying to attack you. If you're a woman and someone's trying to rape you, you're going to have to be offensive. Like, you're going to have to punch the motherfucker, knee him in the balls, sweep him, or put him in a triangle choke, or arm bar him, or take his back and choke him out. Like, you're going to have to be offensive. So if you're training 3 times a week for 6 months, you're going to have to be in practice attempting to fuck somebody up. Because we talk about self-defense. Really, self-defense is just keeping your ass alive by any means necessary. In my eyes, I'm not technically a self-defense expert. I don't do the Gracie combatives. I just learned how to fight. I grew up in a gym. I spent my life.
I thought you were going to say you grew up in the streets.
No, but I mean, there's a lot of street people that don't know how to fight. They'll just shoot you. So yeah, I kind of did grow up in the streets in that I learned how to defend myself. And within 6 months, I realized, within the first day, you can be defensive all you want. But self-defense is being able to fuck someone up, because if you can't beat somebody up, you're harmless. If in a situation where you have to protect yourself, if you're a woman, it's basically life and death.
Okay, I get you on that. It's not like whether like you need to be able to beat somebody up. That's definite. It's like, when do you... like how much training is adequate enough to be able to, know when, not only know how to apply the move, but know when to apply the move.
Knowing when to?
Yeah. Like, because that's the thing they say in like self-defense, because when we're talking about self-defense in this episode, and some stuff that I was going to read later from some training that I got is with self-defense shootings, is that you have to have you have to have the means, and you have to have like the instrument to be able to do it. So it's one thing to know how to do it. It's another thing to know like when to apply it and how to apply it in real life situations. Because I think how many people go to Muay Thai classes, and I hope this isn't just women, and they'll be doing the drills, especially if they're drills without the mitts that are just the glove, where you're supposed to be punching the person's head and practicing your head movement, and they're not actually punching the person's face, they're punching the side of the face. So that's a really bad habit that people develop. So you think you're learning to punch somebody, but really you're learning to not punch somebody, to just kind of throw your hands up, but not actually instinctively be punching for the nose.
I never really thought about that, because typically I sparred, right?
I see that a lot. Yeah, no, I've done many a boxing and Muay Thai class. I think it's a little bit in jiu-jitsu. You can't do that kind of faking of simulation in jiu-jitsu. But with Muay Thai, in respects to self-defense, I think that is a very common issue, because you get very used to not actually hitting somebody. And even if you do 100 classes, especially if you're getting punched in the face, it don't matter. If you flinch and you close your eyes, and me as a fighter, and I've done so many fights, and I saw footage of me fighting when people used to say I would go in with like my chin up and my hands down, and then I saw footage of it one time and I was like, oh my goodness, my chin is so high up. Like that seeing that helped me correct it. But I went into several fights like with that bad habit.
That's a great point. A lot of it has to do with how you hold mitts. That's a big issue. Like, shout out to Coach Jamal from Team Lord Irvin. He moved or whatever, but he taught us how to hold mitts where like you kind of like put it up in front of your face and like you put it close, not like all the way out. I'm sorry, not all the way out here. I still think it's 100 classes, but as far as knowing when to apply, there are some people that spend their whole life not knowing when to apply in a proper situation or how much force to use. Last week, we talked about Leandro Lowe, right? He used his martial arts at first, but you got to know the situation. Did he, in hindsight, apply these moves in the right scenario? We don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to know.
But did he use
like,
enough force? It's need to know how much force to use.
It's like between force and ego and knowing when to walk away. That's the thing, because I've heard so many stories of people, especially like in the city that are on the streets, like they just grow up fighting, and it's the thing about like, oh, you can't let somebody do something to you. Like if they started it, like you have to finish it. If not, they're just gonna come back and da da da. So
let's look at women, and I think as a woman, I'm not a woman, but I try to be empathetic. Knowing when to avoid a situation is even more important for women because you're under attack a lot of the time. Like you're going to be on the defensive, I feel, with how men are. Am I wrong?
Yeah, most people. Some people, I don't know. There's some very happy-go-lucky and free
like
people in the world. There are some free people.
But let's say, typically, you need to be like, avoid these situations even more so than guys because the element of physical danger is more dire for you. It's ever present. As a woman, it's ever present, right? And a lot of what you would do would be avoidance of the situation. Not for right or wrong. I'm not saying women, it happens to them because they're... No, just simply you have to be like, I can't be in this situation because it could go south.
But I think that's like a key skill in jiu-jitsu as well. It's like avoiding putting yourself in situations.
Yes.
You know, because that's one of the things that I was saying when Adisa asked me the question, like, when do I think, like, jiu-jitsu actually becomes effective? And what I said was, like, when you can understand, like, what is a game. Like, because I remember moving to Brazil and not knowing anything in jiu-jitsu, and people always talking about so-and-so's game, and never knowing what the hell they were talking about. And then I also remember the point in my jiu-jitsu where it's like, oh, now I understand, like, people's patterns and their characteristics and how to, like, perceive that in athletes, kind of how like Tim breaks down his mind map. Because what Tim was saying before, it's like you have to know how to not put yourself in a situation, and to know how to not put yourself in a situation, you have to have situational awareness, is what they call that in like self-defense. And like you have to be able to understand the situation and break it down. And it's just like in jiu-jitsu, know what are your high percentage moves, like what are your escapes, like what are your exits, and things like that. So like when you can begin to understand the patterns in people's movement and be like very aware, like that's like a really key skill. And like I learned a lot of martial arts and like things from jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Kung Fu, whether people protecting your center line and things like that I learned from Kung Fu that have been super helpful when like people have been trying to like grab me in the car. But a lot of really helpful things in learning situational awareness came from when like I got my concealed carry license and I started going through training because I was going I had gun insurance through USCCA. So like they have like Protector Academy training. So they give you like case studies of people that have had self-defense shootings or the people that have been mugged, and like something I'm gonna read about like a survey on inmates that they did. that were known for like robbing people, and it's like, what made you want to rob people? And it's like being aware of like those situations. Or even when I was carrying, I realized it's like a lot of times I have a lot of bags with like a camera and a gi and things like that, and I have no free hands. Like if I have groceries and a cell phone in my hand, so like even if I needed to draw my gun, like I couldn't. So I didn't realize that, and I didn't stop like walking in the streets in that fashion until like I was actually able to like, until I had my concealed carry and went through that kind of training, even whether I have my gun or not. And like that's something that I keep in my head. Like I always should have my hands free. Like I shouldn't have so many things that like I'm burdened down, because then I'm just an easy target.
Nico, that's deep understanding, and you've been doing martial arts forever.
I've been doing it since 2011.
So over a decade, and you just found that out.
Was it 2011? No, I'm sorry, 2006. That's when I started.
That's when I started doing jiu-jitsu. I started karate when I was little, and I stopped for a while. But it's even then, that just comes with maturity. That some people never learn that. That's not something that you can really learn, because I had to just listen to stories or just visualize in my head like, okay, I'm not going to this place. Or if I get in a situation where I have to beat someone up, and my dad taught me this when I was young, he's like, if you're in a fight with somebody or they say they're going to go get something, you either leave before them or you beat them up so they can't go get it, right? It's just how it is. And that just takes maturity and just really self-reflection and speaking with people that have been in the streets or have had to fight for life and death, which I learned a lot from meeting people. But I still say being able to apply, let's say 6 months, 3 times a week, so about 100 classes.
Again, he's stuck on that number 100.
Yes, it's good to remember. When people look at this years from now, they're like, I got to get 100 classes in.
But you have to be focused on those 100 classes. You have to be present.
No chit-chatting or creeping on the girls at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
The work is the work. The work is the work.
Were you mid-sentence or you not?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I was going to read what I was saying from the training. And I thought this was really funny. On the Concealed Carry magazine you get with your concealed carry insurance, they interviewed a bunch of inmates that robbed people and did a survey of like what attracted them to their victims and what would potentially make them stop. It was a 3-part survey. So I'm just going to read you some suggestions on self-defense from the illustrious inmates of various places. So walk with intent. Be aware 360 degrees around you. Don't be a victim. And that's from Brandon Lamb, Eastern Oregon Correctional Institution. That would be the first and the last name I read. I'm sorry for not giving y'all credit. Be alert to the world, not on a phone screen. Pay attention to your surrounding. Most muggers will change their mind if they think you're on to them. Get a gun or a taser, more so a gun, and stand up for themselves, because most robbers don't plan on killing anybody. They just want to get the money without a fight. Have confidence. Get trained and carry all the time. Only carry 9mm or larger, which is so specific, but I heard of a case of a guy in DC recently who was shot like 3 times, like once like through the eye, and then like walked out of the hospital. And yeah, so small calibers will not stop people all of the time.
What would you suggest as a caliber for concealed, Nico?
Well, I have really tiny hands and I can only conceal a small gun. So people actually ask me this because I was posting. I carry a Glock 43 because it's very small. Glocks generally have very bulky handles, so they're a little bit harder for me to carry. And concealed carry is, sometimes they'll go smaller than a 9. But yeah, I like 9, but I'm always a 9mm kind of a person.
Now, if I'm wearing Hoochie Daddy shorts out here.
You're bigger than me. You could carry. It's not a concern of yours.
Oh, yeah. Okay. True. Yeah. I need to buy another gun. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Nico. I was just curious.
So, yeah. So that's what I carry. And, but 43 is preferred by a lot of guys that I know. But somebody that I was speaking to said like the best thing for like home self-defense is a shotgun because of the pellets. It's like, because you know, you don't have to worry about hitting your target as bad or collateral damage, because if you go and read into these magazines and realize that you could still face lawsuits after legally shooting somebody in self-defense, or for example, if you have a bad aim and hit a bystander or something like that, you could face some issues. So it's really important to like be prepared with the appropriate weapon, just like in jiu-jitsu, the appropriate weapon and the appropriate technique. So he made me realize that I need a shotgun, and that was very good advice from a Marine. Actually, he was a Marine. So for everybody that's like, oh, why do you hate cops? Like, I hope you never have any problem in your life. I don't hate cops, or all of them. Some of them are very informative and help me a lot. It's just like the system. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
My first gun was a shotgun for home defense.
Yeah.
Very nice one. Really nice bad boy. Don't run up on me, guys. Just trying to tell you.
All right, going on with this list. Have confidence. Get trained to carry all the time. Don't be flashy. That's an invite. To not get mugged by me. Don't show off or brag about being wealthy or rich. Yeah, that's facts. Stay with a group. Avoid dark places and alleyways. Stay vigilant around suspicious strangers. Take self-defense classes. If you feel like you're going to be robbed before the robbery, ask the robber for money. Why would he rob you if you're broke? And if you're robbed, always tell the robber, I respect the game. That would save your life. I've done it. All right. And
holy shit, so just say I respect the game.
I mean,
like, I respect the game, baby. I respect the game.
Sometimes, you know, a little bit of compliance and respect will get you a lot in life. And the last one, be licensed to carry and don't walk around in fear, because most robbers love to play on fear. So there are some tips, some self-defense tips for you guys that are walking in these dangerous city streets.
Damn, man. I love guns. I love guns, Nico.
How old were you when you learned to shoot?
How old was I?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I didn't, I hadn't gone into the gun range until I was about like 29.
29?
Yeah, I mean, I shot.
How old are you right now?
31.
31. So, wow, 2 years ago.
Because I had to get my handgun qualification license. And in Maryland, getting a concealed carry is really easy now because of the Supreme Court ruling.
Okay, it's not. People keep saying that, and this is why this is kind of gun control, although we're not talking much about gun control, or it's a lot about self-defense. But Maryland did just change the rules, saying that the rules that you needed to be able to apply for a concealed carry or a license to carry in Maryland. And it's not necessarily that it made it easier, but in Maryland previously, it was impossible unless you were like a business owner or you could prove that your life was in danger. So I heard a lot of like media outlets saying that like, oh, you don't even have to register or go through any training. No, you don't have to go through any training to get the license. And that's not necessarily true. You don't have to go through training because like they're assuming the people that aren't going through training already have the guns like you do, like that you can only have in your house. So you've already gone through the training.
I already got my handgun qualification.
So now you can register to carry your gun because you were qualified. Me, I'm qualified in DC. I got the training for DC, which did not include Maryland because before I did not have a business, nor was my life in danger, like Master Lloyd, for example, who was a victim of a home invasion. This law means that now people like me, law-abiding citizens that already have a concealed carry in Washington, D.C., and who takes all of like the production equipment to Tim's house often in Columbia, Maryland, I can now apply to carry the gun that I legally can carry in D.C., in Virginia, because there's reciprocity in Virginia. I can now apply to carry that gun in Maryland. However, I do have to complete the Maryland training because the Maryland training was not included in the training that I got for registering my gun in DC. So like it means more people like law-abiding citizens have access to gun. It's not necessarily making it easier for everybody and saying like, oh, you can still go, you still got to fill out the paperwork, go in, put in your fingerprints and all of that.
As a martial artist, I think it's important to know this because back in the day with martial arts, we had knives and swords. Now the knives and swords are guns. And we saw recently with the Leandro Lowe situation, and we see every day on the news, you need to be strapped up out here. It is serious out here. And when I went to Texas, they had already passed the law where everybody can conceal and carry. Essentially, folks, the whole country is going to be like the Wild West. So you need to not only own firearms, you need to be properly trained. Because I hear time and time again of people misfiring, shooting people that shouldn't have been shot, or just people just are happy-go-lucky to just play with guns, don't know shit about trigger discipline. Don't get me started on seeing these pictures online of people holding guns like this, no trigger discipline. Even people that go to the gun range, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Motherfuckers came in here. Somebody went to an indoor range in Virginia one time. They had a shotgun with them. And like the handgun, just shooting the shit, like just blowing the shit up. I'm like, I get it. You need to learn how to aim your shotgun. But like, they had like a big ass shotgun just fucking the paper up.
People will do a lot of stuff.
Or people don't put their guns right at the range. Like, I'm just like, people need to be trained, man.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like for that guy that has to sit there behind the glass and like watch and try to stop this stuff. Because not everybody learns with a qualified instructor, which is hilarious. Because you see, they are doing some crazy stuff. Like I know with gun laws, with teachers, there have been a lot of states that have been passing laws where teachers can have guns, and I think that's hilarious.
Oh God. Can I say something about that?
Less than 24 hours of training.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead.
I don't know. We have trained professionals that get nervous when there's an active shooter and it's their job to fight the active shooter, and they sit in the lobby and don't do shit. What the fuck makes you think a teacher that's main job is being a nerd and reading shit, their job is not to shoot shit up? What the fuck do you think they're going to do?
Oh, my goodness.
And do you want some of these teachers out here? You've had teachers, right? That are fucking nuts. You're a teacher. You probably know other teachers that are fucking nuts. You want them with guns?
Tim, I work...
You want them with guns?
I work in the city.
And I know kids wild out. We are in D.C. Kids wild the fuck out nowadays. But you want the teachers with guns?
That's so hilarious. I've had my cell phone stolen from my job teaching in the city.
Wait,
I've had
from
my
the
car
kids or the
stolen.
teacher?
The kids. And then that kid asked me for makeup work and a ride home while I'm trying to call 911 on his ass. On
What?
his ass. Yo,
Oh my
I had
God.
my cell phone stolen from my job. I've had my car stolen from my job. You think them little kids wasn't going to steal the gun from my hip on my job? Oh, my God. They would have ran.
You taught at the Lean On Me school?
I did, actually. I taught at an alternative school. I taught at an alternative school for previously incarcerated kids.
Oh, man.
That's why I was joking on Instagram. I was like, yo, they let me strap up, and it's like something pops up, and it's like, I'm going to just have to give my gun to Johnny and be like, yo, you got us, right, Johnny? Like,
those kids probably already have guns at that fucking school.
And you got to understand, it's like, even when you go to the gun range, you have like the little earmuffs on in your eyes and the reaction to things. And that's what a lot of professionals need to train. And that's why I don't think like, just training in a jiu-jitsu class without like the instruction of whether the military instructor or the police instructor. It's like really learning how to deal with like the stress and the reaction time. Like if you really hear a gunshot up close without those little earmuffs that you're so used to, your first reaction is going to be to like flinch and to jerk. And it's like, all right, then how long it's going to take you to get used to it. And then even if you think you can get used to it and your heart's racing, you now have a physiological response to deal with that you're not accustomed to. So like even with training, like as much training I have, and that's why I joke around, but I don't really joke around. It's like, yo, my in like a real life or death situation, like some of my students would probably be a lot better at than I am, because even though I train at a gun range, they've actually been in situations where they've seen people that they know shot in front of them. They know what the sound of a gunshot up close is. Like they've been in those situations. So like they're conditioned, unfortunately, unfortunately, like one of my other students, I was talking to one of the students from that same school. He's like, it's really sad that they're more scared of grass than they are of gunshots. And that's a real life thing that, that is like when I say that again, I'm against like these adopt the cop programs because it's kind of like a band-aid to the issue. Like you're going a lot deeper than that.
Wow. Nico killed it once again. I'm at a loss for words. You took it really far right there.
Shout out to the kids from my, maybe I shouldn't drop
I
the
don't
school
think you should
name.
drop the school name. No.
Shout out to my baby.
No.
Hopefully you don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I think guns are really important. I think we all need to know because our rights are getting infringed upon. Second Amendment, America. But yeah, I just don't... I just try to avoid conflict, Nico. My biggest fear is just getting like someone breaking into my house. I'm
true.
very paranoid about someone breaking into my house.
So where could they break in from? Situational awareness, and please maybe don't like say this out loud on the podcast. Actually,
no, I
like
just
really
think where they could, but like everything's secure, and I got like shit, like I got cameras and shit everywhere, and
I mean, cameras will only tell the tale of the crime. It's not going to prevent it. Always.
I mean, how many locks on the fucking doors do you need? Like, I don't...
How easy are they to get through?
These are all questions that I think about. That's why I have guns, too.
It's like, for example, like I know, for example, I have a safe in this room, and that safe is purely decoration. Like, first of all, you could pick it up and take it with you. And second of all, if you like Google it, it's very easy to break into. So it's like, it's just like, it's cute. But so thinking about things like that, like situational awareness, and are you really safe, and like are you really aware of like what you're doing, not only in real life but in jiu-jitsu, because so many people train jiu-jitsu and like don't know like what they're doing. They're just going to the classes and not really paying attention. They're just following through the movements, thinking of some girls' butts. That's why I'm like 100 classes, Tim. But okay,
I'm under the assumption that you're trying to be good and you don't want to die. That's it. That's the only assumption I have. That's what I have assumption.
And you don't want to die, though. That's like a very strong assumption, though. Like, who is thinking about dying, though? People don't think about dying. Now we're getting that very stoic.
I thought about when I started training, I need to learn how to defend myself, because what if someone wants to beat me up and they could beat me to death? Like, you know, there's situations when you're in a fight, like someone could just not stop. But that's it. That's my stoic answer for today. Nico, how far along are we?
I have one more question for you, but two here, so I'm trying to decide which one are we gonna do. All right, so we're gonna go with the black belt wisdom, which is a question that I have. I'm gonna give my answer first, real quick. It's like, what are the best BJJ street techniques? Because Tim Spriggs, if you remember when he used to drop all his AKAs, he trains for the streets. Although mine is really quickly as knowing when the fuck not to use jiu-jitsu. Like people, especially people in the streets in DC, would love to tell people I'm a fighter. Hey, this is Nico. She's a fighter. I never tell anybody I'm a fighter because they love to put their hands on me. But yo, the number one thing you do in a professional fight camp, not jiu-jitsu, but like Muay Thai, MMA, is you run. You hit that long distance running, you hit that sprints running, you start shit with me and you're not paying me, I'm out, yo. And where am I out to? I'm out to go get my gun. And then what is your handgun for? Your handgun is to give you time to get to your rifle, is what one of my friends used to say. So it's like, I'm out. So Tim is going to give us some actual jiu-jitsu techniques, because I'm sorry, I know some of our fans may be kind of anti-gun. So Tim is going to talk to us about some actual jiu-jitsu that you think would be most effective.
Okay, so I have like a couple in mind for just purely grappling. Body lock takedown. You know, you close the distance. You can go to the front. You know, like an outside reap with the leg. I could do that on a regular person. It's going to be hard for you to do when you're training. Also, what I would do is, if I get a body lock on someone, I can go around to their back and break their hip down. So I guess body lock takedown, either traditional from like, you know, outside leg reap, or around to the back to not hip heist, but breaking down the hip. Another takedown that I would do for self-defense, like just we're talking pure grappling, I'm assuming we're on the feet, is a single leg takedown. Because then you're going against someone that's trying to attack you, and we're assuming does not have as much martial arts training. Instead of taking control of the whole person's body or their torso, you just wrap your arms around one of their limbs and pick it up and run the pipe. So even if you're nervous or you got adrenaline going with you, that's going to drive you with enough strength, if you drill it enough, where you can grab their leg and take them to the floor. Most people, if they're attacking you, just assume, like the situations you said, that you don't know how to fight. Because most people that do martial arts wouldn't do some shit like try to run up on somebody like that. So if I get a single leg takedown on someone, they don't have as much martial arts training, they're caught off guard, and you're immobilizing one of their legs. So now they got to hop around and respect the fact that you're grabbing their leg. And even if they're trying to punch you, it's going to be off balance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is if you've trained hard and if you trained focused. That's my answer for jiu-jitsu techniques. I consider grappling jiu-jitsu as grappling because in jiu-jitsu, we learn takedowns coming up.
That's a great answer. I appreciate that. All right, and that's all I have on this outline for us today.
All right, well, Nico, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at no_Nico. That's no_new_Nico. Make sure to stop by favelajujitsu.com. Got plenty of merch up there, whether it be for Favela Jiu-Jitsu, official BJJ Goons merch, and a lot of articles. I've been posting a lot of articles in English and Portuguese. So for those of you that have been following all the reels I've been posting and trying to learn Portuguese for jiu-jitsu, make sure to stop by favelajujitsu.com.
You can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ, where I teach private lessons, both in person and virtually. You can hit me up there for a seminar, but if you really want to learn jiu-jitsu under me, all you got to do is ask for a mind map, a game plan, or a match critique. I can make your game plan for you, and with the match critiques, I watch your footage, break it down for you, see what you did well, see what you didn't do so well, and what you can drill on. Next, you can find me at Instagram at Tim Spriggs BJJ. Same for Facebook. You can see me on Twitter at MushmasterWins, but most importantly for both myself and Nico is the BJJ Goons TikTok at BJJ Goons. We just dropped we just did, as of this recording,